Good afternoon, councillors. We're going to resume our meeting from yesterday, the ordinary meeting of council, and in order to do that, can we, given that we have an apology from Councillor Melissa Taylor, can I have someone move to accept? Moved by Councillor Carroll, seconded by Councillor Tim. Those in favour? That motion is carried. Councillors, we move then to item number 14, which is any other business council determines by resolution to be included in the agenda papers. Councillor Vonhoff, you indicated that there would be an item. If not, is there any other councillors?
I do, Chair, through you, Kirsten, I believe I provided you with wording yesterday. Thank you. Thank you. That in accordance with best practice example standing orders for local government and standing committee meetings, November 2022 as amended, permission be granted to consider at this meeting in a closed session the proposed Department of Transport and Main Roads Toowoomba North-South Corridor.
Happy to bring that to the table, first and foremost. Question, Councillor Tim.
Thanks, Chair. Councillor Rebecca, welcome the motion, but do we need to go into confidential session now that this is in the public eye?
We have to have reasons to go into a closed session, and do we have those up there as well, Kirsten?
Yeah, it was the section 254.
Thank you.
254J.
So we can't close a session just because we want to. There has to be reasons under the Act to justify that. And the reason for closing this meeting, after consultation with the CEOs, this matter relates to negotiations. This matter relates to a commercial matter involving the local government for which a public discussion would be likely to prejudice the interests of the local government.
So firstly, we need a motion that we discuss this to put on the table. So that's Councillor Rebecca has brought this forward to do that. Can someone to move that is available? Councillor Bill, seconded by Councillor Nancy. Those in favour? Okay, that's now on the table. So given that it is on the table, the reasons for close are clear. We then need to move to a closed session to discuss. Moved by Councillor Nancy. Question by Councillor Nancy.
Thank you. This is bigger than Ben-Hur, and we need a lot of information before us to do that. And I don't believe we have capacity today to do what needs to be done. If it's what I'm thinking you're thinking of doing in this discussion, we need to understand maps, infrastructure, all sorts of things, don't we, to have this discussion? I might be wrong.
This was actually as a result of yesterday's discussion in regard to some requests from a variety of different groups, a number of different groups to support.
Yeah, I understand that, but I mean, what are we going to discuss?
Councillor Nancy, if you just let me finish for a moment while I'm going. So we've had a number of people request council to support a submission. So the reason to go into close is to gain some legal advice and opinion as to what that may mean for council. So it's not necessarily supporting or otherwise a submission. This is to discuss the process. Hopefully that's clarified things.
Sorry, I'm still.
Councillor Carroll, question?
Mr. Chair, before we go into, I don't think we voted on closed session yet, have we? No, thank you. Before we go into closed session, I want to mention, I don't believe I have a conflict of interest, but I want to mention that there have been allegations made about me in the public space. I checked it with Derek Sanderson last Friday. I was never made aware of where the corridor was, and that was a deliberate action from TMR, from all of us councillors. So they've never told us that. So I don't believe that I have a conflict of interest. I don't believe I've gained anything or lost anything because of this, but I would rely on my colleagues for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carroll. I respect that wholeheartedly. So effectively what you're suggesting is that councillors can decide whether you stay in the room, participate and vote if there is an item, or you can stay in the room, not vote, or remove yourself from the room. And you'd like councillors to decide on that matter. Councillors, is there any questions in regard to Councillor Carroll? Councillor Megan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just on the basis that there has been public allegations, Councillor Carroll wasn't named at a public meeting at Westbrook, but either way, I think that's unacceptable. And in your case, Councillor, I think that you should remain in the room.
And vote on the matter. So if there is a vote that needs to take place. So, councillors, there's a motion before us then that from Councillor Megan, that Councillor Carroll stay in the room and vote on the matter. And the reasons being, as per what Councillor Carroll has stated, that these have been allegations unfounded and untested. Councillor Carroll has clearly stated in an open forum and is on record of saying exactly what she knows of the situation, and councillors respect that. Is that reason, Councillor Megan? I have a seconder for that motion, seconded by Councillor Bill. Those in favour? That motion is carried. So therefore, councillors, we go back to the opportunity now to close the meeting for discussion. Can I seek a mover to close the meeting? Moved by Councillor Carroll, seconded by Councillor James. Those in favour? Those against? So we'll record that vote because we had a conflict of interest declared. So against was Councillor McMahon. Thanks, Jojo. Yep. The councillors, the motion before us is in regard to the general business item brought forward by Councillor Rebecca in regard to potential submission by council to the DTMR, and the motion, if I could ask for a mover, moved by Councillor Carroll, seconded by Councillor Rebecca. That's fine. The motion I will read out, I assume. The council provides the state government with a submission that 1. Agrees that there is a growing need for an additional north-south road for the Toowoomba region and remains committed to advocating for minimal disruption to our residents, protection of environment and areas of cultural significance, and mitigating impacts on the local road network while achieving a best possible outcome for the region. 2. Emphasises the importance of appropriate ongoing consultation with council and the community by the Department of Transport and Main Roads to address concerns. And 3, welcomes ongoing involvement with council as the Department of Transport and Main Roads plans this important investment by the state government in our growing region. We have a move by Councillor Carroll, seconded by Councillor Rebecca. Any need to go into debate? No need to go into debate. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. We move then to item 16.1, which is to note the CEO's advice. If someone move that note. Moved by Councillor Megan, seconded by Councillor Carroll. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. Councillors, we move then to item 17, and 17.1 is the Planning and Development Group, and welcome Dr. Nicola to come forward to present the General Manager's report for Planning and Development for July 2023.
Thank you very much, Chair, and I will take the report as read and open up to any questions councillors may have.
Councillors, Councillor Nancy, you had a question?
Thank you, Chair. I was just curious, did we ever actually sign a sister city deal with Yuchang in China? I didn't think we did. I think we were dancing, but they weren't, was my recollection of it. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Kerry.
Yeah, it was just in relation to the same matter, actually. I was intrigued that there would appear on the face of it to be discussions with representatives of a Chinese communist city, which included potential exports to Taiwan, which would be remarkable, I would have thought. Can you enlighten us?
Thank you very much for that question. I can take that on notice and find out how those discussions went. It is an unusual pairing there, China and Taiwan.
Perhaps it's should be a secondary dot point to separate what may well be a potential conflict. Any other questions for Dr. Nicola? Councillor Megan.
No, Chair, thank you. I don't know, this probably doesn't really matter, but I just, for the purposes of accuracy, for the Building Design Queensland Regional Design Awards, it says that Councillor O'Shea and Councillor Melissa Taylor were there. Just, were you there? Yes. Oh, you were? Sorry.
James emceed it.
No, that's the awards. This is the dinner that we went to. Building Design Queensland Regional Design Awards. Maybe that's
the
other.
awards. That's the awards.
The Master Builders. Sorry, don't mind me.
As you were? Okay, no problems. It's getting late in the day. Perfectly fine. Anyone else have any questions for Dr. Nicola? Nicola, just one small one on page 163 of 192. It's the last, third dot point down, council-sponsored SEGRA, etc., which is great. And we had a terrific meeting with the Honourable Christy McBain in regard to, amongst other things, the dam safety upgrade, refugees, and also the railway parklands. And we just say he's supporting advancement of the Toowoomba region and the potential funding contributions to the decontamination of the railway parklands. Did we actually talk about the decontamination of the railway parklands?
Yes, and I mentioned the figure of $80 million, which was a 2018 figure, by the way, and it was a guess, so it's more than that now.
So we probably need to upgrade those pieces of advocacy that we're putting out there, I think. Councillor Carroll.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor, and someone who's been sitting here for a while, beware of those bearing gifts. The Newman government was going to give us the railway parklands with $2 million, or the good shed. It was full of white ants, the flood went through it, and we just accepted it with $5 million, and now look what we've got. Now we've got a wonderful facility, but then we had to replace the roof for nearly $500,000 because it had asbestos on it, and we still have got an incompleted project, which is wonderful, but if it had air conditioning and a kitchen, it'd be so much better. But, you know, beware when someone comes bearing gifts, because whilst it's a great facility for our community, just have a look at all that, because it was full of all those things which are quite nasty. Thanks.
I think we need to put that one on the agenda to have a deeper discussion at some point, Dr. Nicola. The motion, therefore, councillors, is before us, and the motion is simply to accept that the Planning and Development Group report be received. Someone moved by Councillor Megan, seconded by Councillor Bill. Those in favour? That motion's carried. Thank you very much, Dr. Stepanoff. We then move to item 17.2 and welcome Damien Platts, General Manager, to present the General Manager's report for Water and Waste Services for July. Welcome, Damien.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Good evening, councillors, and we'll take the report as read and go straight to any questions, please.
Councillor Shine.
Yeah, just in relation to the smart meters, about 5,000 meters have been installed. Eddie, could you tell us a rough idea of how many are yet to be installed?
About 61,000.
Few. Councillor, that answers your question, Councillor Carey? Yes. Great. Councillor Nancy.
Thank you. And the latest update we got was over 6,000, so they're getting through them. Look, my question's in relation to use of water out of our dams, and I know, you know, we've been talking about we're trying to pull down Crestbrook as much as we can in relation to the spillway upgrades, but I note that we've taken 679 out of Perso versus 276 megalitres out of Crespi for July, and I just wonder why we're not trying to take as much as possible. I understand it's more expensive, but it's better to sell the water while we can than release it down the...
Good point.
Sure, councillors. We had some water quality concerns with some algae, and also, you know, we want to exercise pumps, but my understanding is we had some water quality issues. We also had part of the high flow testing of going into Mount Kynoch in the water treatment there, upgrades.
So just in regard to that, Damien, this is for July. It's now switching back to the Crestbrook water?
Yeah, we're back on Crestbrook water, but okay. We continue as we go through the upgrades of, for example, the sand filters that we've got there. There will be times when we need to have high flow, but yes, we're prioritising getting Crestbrook dam level to a level which is consistent with our intervention on that dam wall in the next couple of years.
Thank you. Any further questions, councillors, in regard to this report for water and waste? There's no further questions. The motion is that the Water and Waste Group Services Group report be received. Can I have a move by Councillor Rebecca, seconded by Councillor Nancy. Those in favour? That motion's carried. Thanks, Damien, and good evening to you. Item number 17.3 is the group report for infrastructure services, and we welcome back Mike Brady for the July report by the General Manager. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and good evening, councillors again. Please note the Infrastructure Services Group report for July 23 is tabled, and happy to take any questions.
We go for questions, Councillor Tim and then Councillor Rebecca.
Chair, thank you, Mike. We were given a briefing late last year by TransLink about go-kart, or it's something to do with go-kart, or its replacement, or something coming to Toowoomba. Then we were waiting for the press release and it never came, and it never came. This says you and your officers had a meeting with them not long ago, and that it's coming this month. Could you please talk to that?
Yes. So that first up point,
So they can go. So where are we?
I
Councillor
think
Tim?
there might be a typo there, and I do apologise, councillors, now that Councillor McMahon has it's a rollout of on-demand services in Toowoomba. Probably not the word ticketing. To me, is probably the wrong word. So my apologies there.
Oh, Mike, you had my hopes up and then they're not. So what's on-demand services as opposed to on-demand ticketing?
Yeah, so apologies there. It's basically where a person can make contact through to TransLink about where they are in regards to a locality, and then the bus sort of picks them up near or near where they live. It's just in some ways a different, slightly different name to Kango service, how Kango up on the thing. It's actually the same bus, the same localities, and basically not a huge change other than probably in the interface between TransLink and the customer. There is some release information on that, so I'll circulate that to councillors if you like, just to make sure that you've had the opportunity to see what they're actually doing.
Thanks, Mike. My long day in the chair was really good, then really bad again. But don't say it. Then they got to pay with cash. But thanks anyway.
Councillor Rebecca and then Councillor Carroll.
Thanks, Mayor. Under Central Precinct, the Bridge Street, Hume Street intersection, Mike, and thank you for the report. Upgrade works for the new traffic signals have been completed with the intersection open to all traffic on the 31st of July 2023. It looks great. This is the black spot funding one. I went down to have a look and to talk to the businesses that are there. They're very excited about the completion of it, except traffic is banking right up in some instances to TAFE. And I've seen that myself. So, I mean, is there an opportunity to look at the phasing of those lights and what's happening there?
There's an email to query coming. Okay, so a draft's been done up. In essence, at the start there was some what's the easiest way to put it? Some faults with the loop that we had installed, so that the changes in the lights weren't working. So it's just going through some, you might say, commissioning of the intersection in regards to operation of the lights. So as you'll note with what I'll respond to in the email, it should see improvement. I think there's already improvement from what I understand, but so that matter should be addressed reasonably well. We don't have, what is different to the old lights is that we don't have filtering anymore, so the four legs have got to go round, and on the survey or the observations of what has been done each at the moment, generally speaking, traffic are getting through on one phase of lights, so in each direction. So it's there. So I'll CC in councillors with that as well.
Thanks, Mike. Councillor Carroll, back
Thank
to
you, Mr Mayor.
Yeah.
Look, I'm just clarifying that the Kango route is still only that one route that we have in Toowoomba, and I think it was explained to me that now you got to book where you've had to book before. Now you have to book and pay, whereas before you could hail it. Now you can't hail it. You
Yeah.
have to book and pay before it comes, but it's still only that one route, sadly, isn't it, Mike?
Yes, at this
Yeah,
point in
sadly,
time.
because it's a very, very popular service.
Councillor. Councillor Shine, if you've got a question, throw your hand up. Councillor Nancy? I know you were. We'll keep some order here, we're nearly home. Councillor Nancy?
Just the last page, Mike, on Fleet. It says workshops have raised a total of 880 tasks against Fleet assets for, is that too loud, too noisy? Sounded loud. Against Fleet assets for service and repairs for this financial year, with 99% of all work being planned or scheduled. Could you just explain that statement to me, please? I was a little bit confused by it.
It's probably just sort of, in essence, it's the tasks that, you know, all the maintenance requirements for all the different items of plant across the board that we're working on. So that's what the total elements of tasks come to. What I could do, I'll take it as a question without notice and give you a little bit more detailed information on what that means, if you like. I think that might be a better way to explain it.
Yeah, that's fine. I sort of had a similar thought about that, and I've read it before around what's the difference between planned and schedule, but the grey little squares up the top, I guess, relate to 1% that were reactive. Would that be it?
Yeah, in essence, it's showing that we're tracking to what is a very good sort of outcome in how we manage our fleet. In trying to, the aim is to have as smaller reactive maintenance requirements as you possibly can, so you get away from having breakdowns that then have a consequential impact on the service that's being delivered. So that's the intent of what's trying to be achieved. But I'll get a little bit of information and just explain it a little bit more further.
Okay, Mike. Any other questions, councillors, for Mike's report, Infrastructure Services Group? If there's no other questions, Councillor Carroll moves that the Infrastructure Services Group be received. Have someone second that motion? Second by Councillor Tim. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, Mike, and good evening to you, and go the Matildas. Item number 17.4, Environment and Community Services Group. Welcome Nick. The author, of course, was the Acting General Manager, Paul Reynolds. Nick, welcome to you. I'm assuming that you're over the top of the report as well. So,
thank you, Mayor. I'll try to be. Good evening, councillors. Take the report as read. Here to take your questions.
Thank you, Nick. Questions, Councillor Kerry.
Somewhat hesitant to raise this, but it was your suggestion, Mayor, that I bring it up at this meeting rather than the committee meeting in relation, sorry to put you right in, but anyway, in relation to the Tummaville Cemetery, Anglican Cemetery issue. I've had good correspondence with Paul and with Nick, very fulsome replies, but I was just wondering whether there's a possibility down the track that we could have a sort of an information session on this issue. It was some years ago, a decade ago, when it was really addressed by council, and things have changed. And for some of us, the issue is more pressing than to the younger ones here, and we don't know that, but yeah, law of averages. So I don't want you to really address it today, Nick, but I don't know how we go about that, but in terms of requesting a information session, what I'm trying to do is to get a quality for people who are buried, say, at the Toowoomba and Drayton Cemetery as opposed to the Tummaville Cemetery. We all have something in common there, that we're going to be buried one day, and if we can be treated equally, that would be good. I realise it's got to be paid for, and coming out of your budget, something else misses out on, but we might be able to get a better idea of what happens, say, in Toowoomba, and what happens, say, in different other shires and councils around the ridges.
So perhaps, Nick, did you want to talk to that, or do you want to take it on notice and perhaps we organise a
No, I'd like to
session?
talk to it if I
Talk to
can.
it? Good.
Mayor, thank you.
And then we'll go to you, Megan, after that.
Look, I think it's important, councillors, to note that we do maintain some 25 cemeteries throughout the region. Not every cemetery that's in the region is operated and maintained by council. I think in the advice that was circulated, I think there's about 42 cemeteries or something throughout the region. We do maintain 25 of them, and whilst Tummerville mightn't be one of those, it's owned by the Anglican Church of Australia. I think it's important to note that our residents do have access to cemetery services. There's cemeteries at Millmerran, and which would be the closest one, I'd imagine, and Pittsworth and Cecil Plains and all of those. So I think that people do have access to services. I do have scheduled in the month of September a couple of information sessions with councillors to discuss in more detail the services provided by the Environment Community Services, activities and programs, with the view of taking a deeper dive into those services and trying to address some of the financial strains that we are under at the moment. Councillors are very well aware of that, and we've all got budget constraints that we need to meet, and the Environment Community Services Group is finding that very difficult. And I think only adding new services is only going to make that whole exercise a whole lot more difficult. So I'd like to give you a fulsome and wholesome view of where we're at, and then we can start to have the conversation about adding new services and what's got to go to make way for them.
Thank you, Nick. So the session will come forward. Any other questions for the General Manager, councillors? Councillor Megan, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Nick, I just wanted to congratulate Jenna on the disaster management videos. She came and presented at the Multicultural Advisory Committee that I chaired for Councillor O'Shea last week, I think it was. And, it's really, really incredible work that she's done there. Yeah. And I just hope it gets the traction that it deserves. Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor. I'll pass that on. If I had confidence that she was tuned in and watching the live stream, I wouldn't need to, but I suspect that I'll need to pass that on to her. So I'll definitely do that. Thank you. And I agree. A great initiative. Thanks.
Terrific. Thanks, Councillor Megan. If there's no other questions, councillors, Councillor James. Okay, happy to move. Okay, well, let's go to the motion, which is simply that the Environment Community Services Group. Sorry, Councillor Nancy.
Thank you. I did have my hand up. So, Nick, could you just give us a brief and obviously no detail of why there's continuing contract negotiations for the for MBAC, Highfields, Crows Nest and Millmerran contracts? It's saying that they should be ready by them to start in September, but it sort of left it hanging. Do we have issues there?
No, I think
and
it's
obviously you have to be careful what you say, but when
it's really just a question of timing, Council. This report was written 2 weeks ago,
right.
So they've progressed now, and they're working their way through the system. They made their way to me today, so I'm hopeful that that'll all be resolved and ready to go now. So if you remember, Council considered those tenders in, I can't remember what month it was now, I don't know if it was July or June, but negotiations with the preferred and successful tenderers have been ongoing, and it's all pretty well done and dusted.
So this being the July report, it's your July group report, so if there's anything different, you'll let us know, Nick.
Yeah, look, I think the point to make is a lot of progress happens in the 2 weeks since the report's was written.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Councillors, any other questions for Environment Community? If not, Councillor O'Shea. Oh, fantastic. We'll minute that. Councillor O'Shea, you have moved that the Environment Community Services Group report be received. Seconded by Councillor Tim. Those in favour? That motion's carried. Thank you very much, Nick. Appreciate it. Councillors, I know this will come as a great disappointment to you all, but we're up to our last item, 17.5, and no better way to finish than with a spreadsheet of financial information. So welcome to you, General Manager Anne-Marie Johnston, and your group report is ready for you to deliver. Thank you.
Good evening, councillors. Happy to take that report as read and take any questions.
Councillor Kerry.
Yeah, just a quick one. Page 188, you indicate the figures with respect to exits of staff compared with the last year, and it would appear that the exit interviews offered is now around about 80% of those exited, as opposed to probably less than 40% in the previous 12 months. So there's been a big improvement in our practice in that regard, either our practice or the willingness of exitees to participate. Is that right?
And that's correct. Councillor, we've put in some processes to improve that reporting.
Yeah, thanks. Councillor Rebecca.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, just below the exit interviews offered and conducted that Councillor Shine was talking about, we've got our Net Promoter Score, and we've cracked 0. So we are no longer minus 0.4, we're now 0.19, so we are headed in the right direction.
That's correct, Councillor. I hope you like the coloured picture that we've added, just to spice it up a bit.
Looks terrific. We're a fair bit to go. We're on the right way. Any other questions, councillors? Just Anne-Marie, if you wouldn't mind, the Highlights Innovation Development.I project, which went live last month, in fact a month ago tomorrow, it's basically replaced the PD online. Can you just, that's happened without any fanfare, but I'd imagine there was a fair bit of work that went into that. Can you just explain that a little bit for us?
There's a credible amount of work that has gone into that one. I really cannot give you too much information, but I'm happy to take that question on notice and just provide councillors with an update next month on how it's going and what our response is like. But we did have a display. We looked at what's easy to use, so I encourage councillors to give the application a go and provide your feedback.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. Councillor Megan.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. So it was developed on the Sunshine Coast model. It's got much the same sort of thing, but it is really terrific. And in fact, I was just talking after the special meeting to the Reeds about that one of the really great features is that you can click on, see what's happening in your area, and then you can also, I want to be informed about what's happening with these different things. So yeah, go and have a look at it. It's really terrific. Yeah, but I know your team worked incredibly hard to get it, all the bugs ironed out, and to work in liaison with the planning staff to know what was going to be really good features of it. So thank you.
Yeah, that's correct, Councillor. The ICT team, as well as end of financial year Technology One, Pathways, there's quite a few applications going through at the moment, so terrific work.
Thanks, Megan, for highlighting that. Anne-Marie, yesterday we spoke about diversity within our workforce, and I know that you're anxious to talk to us about some of that information. Would you like to share that with us today as to what's going on in that space?
Yes, so councillors, we did adopt or endorse a diversity and inclusion policy a couple of years ago. The policy is currently up for review as part of the development of a new diversity and inclusion strategy. Last week, Council was accepted as a member of Diversity Australia, and we're using that membership to enable contemporary best practice for diversity and inclusion throughout the organisation. So our new draft strategy, so the question went to the CEO yesterday, the strategy hasn't been to Brian yet, but the new strategy will be based on the 6 pillars as recommended by Diversity Australia. So that's Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander, generational, gender, cultural diversity, family and wellness, and intellectual and physical ability and accessibility. So our talent and retention systems have also recently been reconfigured to ensure we're capturing the information when our new starters, when our new employees commence. We've been out to the organisation with the surveys, so we had a representative group from ICT, Finance, PCE and CCE, and just we've captured 700 responses from existing employees, which has been a terrific outcome. So all that information will be collated and included in the annual report.
Great step forward. Thank you, Anne-Marie, for that. Councillors, any more questions in regard to the Finance and Business Strategy Group? If there are no further questions, Councillor Shine will move that the Finance and Business Strategy Group be received. Seconded by Councillor Carroll. Those in favour? That motion's carried. Thank you very much, Anne-Marie. Item number 18 is meeting concluded. Thank you, councillors, for a two-day effort, including a special meeting midway in the afternoon on the second day. Appreciate it.